Funny, interesting, and flat out weird maps of Australia. You know it, baby. This is like part 3 or 4. Absolutely love doing these. Should probably do them more than once every 3 months. So, yeah, let me know down below if you would like to see more of these. I really do enjoy these. I will leave the last couple episodes of this linked in the description down below. You got to check them out. They're really, really good. Here we go. Let's dive into Australian maps on Reddit. Let's go. So first up, we have the Australian weekly rainfall from 2022. That is this year. The East Coast floods. Now, this is no laughing matter. This is a tragedy, actual weather emergency. Really, really bad news. So as you can see, the whole country, not the whole country, but a lot of the country did get some rainfall. And I imagine that this is probably on the heavier side for a lot of areas. I mean, look at even up here by Darwin, the Northern Territory, the coast, Western Australia, even parts of the outback got a little bit. Granted, it's minimal. But yeah, look at over here. I mean, all of New South Wales, all of Victoria, all of Tasmania, and the whole East Coast, all the way up Queensland, had tons and tons and tons of rain. Absolutely crazy. Look at the pink parts over here, 400 millimeters of rainfall, 300. It's crazy. And it's got to be one of the wettest weather events in recent history, correct? I know 2011 was really bad too. So yeah, if you didn't know, that's kind of a map right there as of March 3rd, so a couple weeks ago, of the absolutely catastrophic rainfall that kept pounding Australia. Here we have an exaggerated relief map of Northeastern Australia and New Guinea. Now these are really cool because it gives you an idea of what the terrain's actually like. Look at how realistic it is. And you can see the northern tip of Queensland here. Always reminds me of Florida here in the U.S. that juts out into the ocean. But reverse, that's on our south. That's on your north, of course. And they have similar tropical climates as well. But yeah, you can see the difference is Florida is beautiful in its own way, but it's flat. It's really flat. And Queensland has some topography, has some hills, has some mountainous regions, and has a lot of great coastline. Look at how the water's beautiful. And look at New Guinea even is very interesting as well because I don't know much, barely anything actually about New Guinea. I know that's really sparsely populated, right? Not a lot of people, and it's just very, very different. That's what I know. But yeah, you can see the difference. So yeah, it's kind of cool. It's amazing how far north Queensland actually goes. And then, of course, these two islands right here, I believe, are part of Australia. And then look at, you're very close to New Guinea at that point. So very interesting. New Guinea obviously being the closest country to Australia. Here we have a 1943 Japanese map of Eastern Australia. And obviously this was a bad time. This was World War II. Japan was posing a threat to the U.S., of course, and to Australia. That much I do know. Now, what's funny is, of course, it's all in Japanese, so I don't know how to read any of it. Of course, I know where certain landmarks and cities are, but it looks a little different down here. The coastline, Victoria, especially down here. If we zoom in, this is kind of interesting, right? And if we go into the comments, yeah, someone says Melbourne looks funny. No wonder they never sent any subs into Port Phillip Bay. They thought Melbourne was landlocked. I guess the comedy festival was running, or they colored Port Phillip Bay with a land color instead of blue watercolor. Someone also mentioned, interesting that Melbourne, Sydney, Canberra, and Adelaide all have squares around them, denoting them cities. But Brisbane and Darwin don't. That is really interesting. Darwin supposedly doesn't even show up on this map. Let's see. Well, yeah, it would be out of the frame, I guess. But yeah, Brisbane is not marked on there, so that's pretty weird. Here we have a 1952 road map of Australia. Now this I won't have much context on. I wouldn't really know how to give any input on this, as I was way before my time, and I'm obviously not a native of Australia. So maybe you guys can weigh in on this a little bit if you would like. It's interesting seeing the Shell advertisement here, of course. And like even modern maps, you can tell the concentration of roads is very heavy here in the east, and then on the very, very west, near Perth, and then much of the coastal area of Western Australia. And then, of course, look at the outback. A lot of the Northern Territory, a lot of interior Western Australia is very desolate, barely any roads at all. And 1952 would have been when our U.S. highways were really coming together, starting to blow up. Route 66 obviously was a big thing. Did you guys have an era like that where highways started getting laid down left and right? Did you have a Route 66 sort of equivalent that went from major cities to another major city and really made people feel connected, felt like giving hope to the open road. Please comment that down below. And Highway 1 that goes all the way around, when was that constructed? Here we have a satellite terrain of Australia. I love satellite terrains. I guess I've pretty much seen this on Google Earth and Google Maps and all that stuff, but it is cool to see in much detail here. Always amazes me how red looking and desert looking most of the country is. Way more, I should say, compared to most countries. There is big deserts and stuff in the U.S. and in Mexico, say, but it's still nothing in the sheer size compared to Australia. And then obviously it's very cool how green and lush it gets right by the coast, especially over here. Tasmania, very mountainous and lush as well. But it's also crazy how cold Tasmania is compared to, say, anywhere really up here. This is interesting. We have a remoteness area map of the state of Victoria. Now, Victoria is pretty populated, especially when you consider you have famous Melbourne down here, of course, right onto the water, which was absent from that Japanese map, I should say. According to this, very remote areas doesn't really exist here, but we have remote areas are the light green right here, so way over here, kind of interesting. And then obviously interior here, which I would assume is basically some sort of desert or even part of the outback. Does it go that far down? I think it does. And then your major city center is right here in Melbourne, and it's a big metro area. No surprise there. And then this is still pretty populated through the middle of the state all the way into New South Wales to the north. Now, if you have a globe, I have a globe, or have seen the maps that are laid out flat, even digitally online, you may not know that those are actually incorrect when it comes to ratios and sizes. Laying them out flat makes some countries kind of skewed and makes them look bigger than they are. And Greenland, especially on some of these different maps, can look really big. Greenland looks huge, when in reality, it's a decent size, but it's not that big. Look at how big Australia is compared to Greenland right here in the middle. And look at the title. Greenland is the largest island, they say, ... Yes, there are people that believe Greenland is the largest island, and when you see it, the actual sizes, not even close. Australia is way bigger. Look at this, a land use map of New South Wales. Again, very famous, populated state. Look at, we have Bathurst and Sydney, Wagga Wagga, Lismore way up here, which... shout out to Lismore, got really devastated from the very little media that I have seen. Lismore unbelievably got hit hard, very hard. But yeah, we can see a lot of nature conservation and minimal use, even close to the coast. So that's very interesting to me. You have a lot of big towns, big cities, and famous places here, but a lot of nature in between, and that's kind of cool. Then, of course, towards the interior, towards the outback, you have grazing, native vegetation. No surprise there. You're not going to have big city centers way in here. What's the point, right? Now, look at how crazy this is. We have an 1866 plan of Melbourne and suburbs. And I don't know about you, but 1866 is a long time ago. Long time ago. So here is the plan for Melbourne right here. Look at this. Revised to 1866. And look at around. This is really interesting. I'm going to go off on a limb and say that currently Melbourne is really big, a lot bigger than this. Who would have thought back in 1866 that Melbourne would be where it is today, right? I imagine even back then it had potential, and they probably planned that it would be a pretty populated city, but not like anything you would see today. I like the first comment here. Fun how they laid out the first grid and then shortly thereafter went. Look at this one's wild. 1847 map of Australasia by William Hughes. And look at this. This is absolutely crazy because this is super long ago. 1847. We have New Zealand, of course, down here. And New Guinea still right up here by the tip of Queensland. And yeah, this looks, again, a lot different. And if we get a closer look, see if you guys recognize any of these names. Are a lot of these extinct? Are a lot of these different? Maybe they are early versions of what you know today. Yeah, you can go ahead and point those out if you want in the comments. We can see Melbourne down here. Let's see if we can find Sydney. We have New England, Liverpool Plains. Very interesting to see. I don't see Sydney off the top of my head. I'm probably missing it somewhere in here. I do see Brisbane up here. Now, this map really gets me here. It really gets me. 68% of people from the Northern Territory live in a green area. Look how big the Northern Territory is. And look at the green area. We have Darwin. I'm going to assume that's Darwin. I think it is. And Alice Springs. That's it. Boom, boom, checkmate. There is nothing in between. Kind of scary to think about, right? Really bizarre the Northern Territory is. Again, I think it's kind of a beautiful area. Lots of bizarre emptiness, harsh desert, really hot, and a lot of red rocks, that kind of thing. I like that. But yeah, it looks brutal there. You really got to be a certain kind of someone to live there. And I mean that with respect. It looks really tough out there. Now, I feel like I've seen a map like this before, but this is kind of interesting and scary a little bit because I've seen maps like this of the U.S. as well. This is Australia. If all the ice on Earth melted, these are really, really weird. And if we zoom in here, look at this. We have some big portion of kind of the central east part of the middle of the country here that would just fall underwater, leaving two little islands in the middle, creating a ginormous, basically Great Lake in the middle. And actually, if I read this, better than a Great Lake, this would actually be an inland sea. So there's my correct terminology. And the narrow coastal strip where 4 out of 5 Australians now live, right? A lot of people on the coast. I didn't notice. You can see the faint outline of where it would, where it used to be if this were to happen. You see a lot of Queensland gets eaten up here. You see quite a bit of the coastline just moves in. Now, this is really interesting to me. I'm a desert guy. And, of course, here in the U.S., we have the Ouachita Desert, the Great Basin Desert, and then the more famously Chihuahua Desert, Sonora Desert, Mojave Desert. Very, very hot and dry deserts. And look at this. This is the actually official deserts of Australia. Now, I know parts that aren't highlighted here are basically almost desert anyway. They kind of look like deserts. Parts that aren't highlighted here might be really dry and really desolate and things. So, they're kind of, you could call them half deserts. But these are the actual desert regions. And we have 9. So more deserts, technically, than the U.S. And look at how inaccurate this is. We have a 1743 map of Australia. These keep getting older and older. 1743, this shape is all messed up. Obviously, this is very early, and they did not know what Australia looked like, in this case, New Holland. But yeah, they kind of got Western Australia sort of right. I mean, I don't think the dimensions are right at all in any of this, but they kind of got the shape a little bit. That looks like sort of recognizable. But yeah, this East Coast is all messed up. And then also, we just saw this for Northern Territory, but look at this. 58% of people, so over half of people in Queensland, live in just these yellow areas. Again, not much at all. Way down here, this is near Brisbane, I'm assuming. And then, of course, up here, just a little bit by the coast, a little bit by the coast. So again, we have a lot of inland Queensland not inhabited by a lot of people. And we're going to end it with this one, guys. Look at this. We have how Pluto, that's right, the planet Pluto in our solar system, compares to the size of Australia. This I never thought I would see in my life. This is a very shocking map. And if this is even somewhat accurate, it is absolutely crazy. Look at wonderful, beautiful Australia, and look at Pluto. Pluto literally fits inside of Australia. That is a whole planet, or is it a planet? I know it's been on and off the planets list. It's very small. It's very small. Way smaller than Earth, and apparently smaller than Australia. So what do you think of that? Is Pluto a planet? That Pluto is literally smaller than Australia. There you go. If you love Australia and you think it's really big, well, you would be right because it is bigger than literally another planet. So there you have it, guys. Hope you enjoyed this map of Australia. I like doing things like this. Please let me know you enjoyed yourself with the thumbs up on this video. It will help it out greatly. I do appreciate it. Subscribe. We're so close to 50K. I need your help getting there. Let's get there. And check out the description for ways you can interact with my channel on Discord, cool stuff like that. Check me out on Instagram at IWrocker and Facebook as well. My name is Ian. You're watching IWrocker. Until next time, guys. I'll catch you later.